Hi everyone from Giaco. After living over a decade in Finland, I decided to help building a bridge between the English-speaking people living in Finland and the local community. Listen to my podcast to discover the most interesting and incredible people from Finland and to dig into Finnish culture and controversial issues that impact all of us in our daily life. And now sit back and enjoy listening. Bye! Hi everyone, the following is a conversation with Mikko Leino, the CEO of Puurakentajat Group. With him we talk about the building sector in Finland and how wood construction can have a massive impact in reducing CO2 emissions. Please enjoy. Welcome Mikko.
Thank you.
How are you?
Just fine.
So, would you be able to quite fast, concise, tell who you are, let's say like elevator pitch of yourself, who you are, what you do, something that you can share with us, to put in the picture, like who are we talking with?
No, first of all, my name is Mikko Leino. I'm a CEO and a shareholder in Puurakentajat Group, which is a massive wood contractor in Finland. And I've done this for 4.5, almost 5 years now. And myself, I'm a carpenter as a profession also, and done an MBA. And what we do, or what I do, I think I find my work and quite meaningful, because we produce massive carbon storages at the moment. So environmentally friendly construction business, which is really rare in fact, but anyways, that's what we do, and I find my work and it's really fascinating in fact.
Okay, that's actually the reason why I wanted to talk with you. It's exactly the wood construction, and I would have liked to talk with you about wood against concrete, and talk about the techniques and what you see as a trend in the business. But I immediately picked up something really interesting when you were talking, that you said that you're doing a meaningful job.
Yeah.
And so how important is the meaning for you of what you do?
Well, that gives you like I found that it's because of course you when you do your work you have to have income and you have to provide yourself and your family, of course that's like basic values, but if you find your work meaningful, you get certain passion about what you are doing, and you want to be innovative, and you want to contribute even more than obvious in fact. So it means that for me it means that I'm doing something that helps also other people and society somehow, and this is what I call like kind of responsible.
I understand.
Yeah.
So is it this helping other and be responsible for what you do? Is it kind of a value that you carry through your life in everything you do?
I would like to say yes, but of course I have, as a person, of course I have done a lot of mistakes, and I do mistakes every day, and gladly I know and I learn new things every day. But that is, it's quite wide question.
Yes. You wanted to go really deep now. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no, but of course work related question anyway. Of course of course the story of your life, it's something that belongs to you, but so the choices you do also on a daily basis are meant to have a meaningful impact for the future, for the society.
Yeah, and of course yes, and now of course I find that I know something and I do something that has value for example for our society and for climate change in this business. And I also find that if I know something and I have know-how, or our company has a know-how how to solve issues in construction business, it's our obligation also to contribute them.
Yeah, you don't want to stand there and see the play. You want to change it.
Yeah.
So let's dive into. Okay, you have this company Puurakentajat, you're the CEO, but we can generally think and talk about wood construction and how is wood used in construction. Let's open up the box.
Yeah.
You are an expert. I, of course, just know that there is massive wood. There are different type of woods.
Yeah.
And for sure, not every wood has the characteristic to be applied in every part, but maybe you can share us a bit more.
Well, first of all, the basic answer is really simple, because the only renewable material in the world that you can build a house, load-bearing structure of the house, is wood. All the other materials you are using, it's one-time use only.
Can't you crash and smash concrete back to powder?
Yes, and you can make a road out of it, but you can't build a house out of it. And plus, once you have, in Malaysia there is no islands anymore. For example, certain islands has been already removed because of the cement.
Okay.
And the producing the cement is really CO2 negative. So the CO2 negativity is and of course that first of all, cement is not renewable material. You have to dig it up from the earth, and you have to use a lot of power to produce it. And then when you produce it, you have to mix it with the sand, and a certain type of sand. So Sahara sand, for example, is not good enough. It doesn't. Okay. You can't build it with that. No.
Pure enough.
And the structure of the cement is not, or the sand is not suitable. And that means that, and of course, then what you get with that is that kind of concrete, but usually you have to use a lot of steel also in the concrete. And steel is again huge impact in CO2 pollution. So it means that anyways the concrete has a double negative impact to CO2 equivalent than as a carbon storage of wood. So if you have 1 million tons worth of minus in a building, for example, made out of concrete, and you do that with wood, the positive effect is double. So it's plus about the same.
Okay, so the concrete has to be created, to be generated, for the materials to be gathered, and then to be mixed and produced. That has a negative impact. Yeah. And then the double negative impact comes from the fact that once the building is there, it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help. It doesn't have any carbon storage.
Yes.
Because of course, as the wood absorbs the carbon dioxide from the and it produces oxygen, of course, as a photosynthesis. What happens is that wood is full of carbon.
Yes.
And if you burn it, it comes back to nature. And if you cut it down and then you make a house of it, so the carbon is stored in your walls.
So the carbon doesn't go; it's not released liter by liter from the wood. No. Once it's up there in the house.
No. It stays there for good.
Okay. Regardless of the weather.
Of course, if the roof is leaking and the foundation is not working, so it rottens, and that's another issue. But that's not the way to build the houses again.
Yeah.
Any house, in fact.
Yeah. You don't want mold in any house.
No.
What are the main differences in gathering the materials? Because the supply chain, it's anyway complicated in both. It's long in both cases. Either if you are foraging for wood, or then if you are mining for or digging for all the different sands. So what is the supply chain for the wood? And then when we talk about different woods, what are then the different application for different woods? Because I guess that there is also there in the supply chain some changes.
Yeah. Well, mostly those engineered wooden sheet materials, these innovations called LVL is laminated veneer lumber, which is and then there is CLT, which is cross-laminated timber, and those two are the primary materials that you can build. Of course, glulam also, which is glued, block glued or glued wood. So what is that?
But there is glue anyway in all of these.
All of these have glue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even if we consider wood natural material, there is glue inside there.
Yes, there is there is I would say maybe 400 or 500 grams of glue in CLT in 1 cubic meter of CLT.
Okay.
So it's really minimal. Small amount. And now they are also innovating this lignine out of wood, that they can do the glue from the wood itself.
Okay. Yeah.
So there would be none.
Fully natural.
Yeah.
No chemical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, the amount of glue is really tiny in that cubic meter of that massive wood. So that's not an issue. For example, if you think about plastic or what, that's not an issue. And the cost efficiency also comes from logistics. That because it weighs only 1/3 of the concrete.
Okay.
For example, so that means that when we build a daycare center, we can have a 200 square meters of ready-made wall in one truck. But if I made it from concrete, it's like 20 or 30 square meters of.
Okay, so you're saving also in transportation.
About 10 to 15% the amount of transportation comes when you build from massive wood.
Yeah.
For example, apartment building compared to
and it has a huge impact in the.
Of course, that's a huge impact.
Environment.
Yeah. And also you ship the cement out abroad, and you ship the cement and you ship the steels and so on. So the transportation and logistics are not so. It does not play a significant role in global sense.
Yes.
And also, of course, in Finland there is a lot of wood.
But are this type of sheets produced in Finland?
There is some LVL is produced in Finland, and there is also 3 CLT factories in Finland. Huge amount of in Russia there is huge. In Europe there is several. Sweden has several.
So it's easy to get from different ones.
Yes, it's really easy to get, and that's not an issue. Again, the producement of CLT panels, because the amount of for example, if we think it this way, that in Finland there has been made apartment buildings from 1880 up to maybe, for example, last year, the amount of apartment buildings done, they are almost done everything in bricks and concrete.
Yes.
If we change so that we do all of those apartment buildings twice, it's only 1 year finish cutting and the amount of wood we cut per year in Finland. So 1 year amount of wood
would be enough to cover double of the amount of built houses
already. 140 years.
Yes, okay. So the shortage of material there will never be.
No, that's not an issue.
Yeah. And so source the material. Yeah. It's almost like as easy as
much as we build in Finland, it would take 1 or 2 weeks in a year to grow that wood in Finland. What we use all the buildings. Okay. If we do with massive wood.
Okay.
So that's not an issue. The issue is, of course, we have to optimize and use as minimum as much as possible, of course, the wood, because we have to have forest also growing. That's one of those things. So if you think about environment, it would be best not to build at all. That's the best way.
And
not to build anything.
Yes, go back to caves.
Yes.
Yes, that would be a good, quite drastic change.
Yeah.
But then at least we can now try to do it in a responsible way.
Yeah, and for example, so this is something that of course the politicians has known, and to understand this that what is the impact of massive wood construction in Finland, that if Finland has some kind of a target to 2035 to be carbon neutral, and if we do anything else, we only decide that we do only apartment buildings out of massive wood from this day up to 2035, we would solve 53% of the problem. Only by that. And that we don't need any new innovations. We don't need any more factories. We don't need...
But more and more builders, that's for sure.
More builders, yes, and more work.
Yes.
But just changing the material would have this kind of impact.
So, meaning that apartment buildings in Finland has 53% of impact over the emission of CO2.
Yes.
But so this sounds like fairy tale. Everything is good.
Yeah.
Everything is easy. Material is abundant.
Yeah.
It's easy to grow and regrow.
Yeah.
So why this has not been done, and what are the constraints, the limitation?
No, this is a really good question, and I believe the answer lies in balance sheet.
Money talks.
Money talks. Balance sheet is something that, first of all, we have to understand where we come from. We come from that we have done this concrete element apartment buildings. For example, in Finland, we made in 70s, we made world records how many houses we produced per capita in Finland. So Finland has been most efficient concrete builder in the world in 70s.
Okay, I'm proud of it.
I'm proud of it. We do this really good. That's not an issue. We even sell that to Russia. So that means that all of those big construction companies, of course, has gathered their balance sheet and owns those concrete element factories or cement factories or whatever, and they have there in their balance sheets, and their turnover is about 2 billion euros a year, which means that they can't also change their ship or course of the ship in a year or two.
Yeah. No.
And to be honest, it's also quite dangerous for them to make this kind of decision and turn the ship around in a year. They have to have a plan.
Yeah.
And all of their whole process of building lies on this concrete.
Yes, of course.
And
the core business and knowledge, it's built around that.
Yeah, so that's why, for example, if we go or if I go in some business negotiation where, for example, some kind of municipality has already placed an order that we are going to have a massive wood school because it's environmental friendly, and then they have selected to some big construction company that we are going to build it, and because they don't have the know-how, they want to buy the load-bearing frame from us, for example.
Yeah. Yes.
And what happens quite often is that they laugh. And you have to come here and build this out of wood because someone wants to have it out of wood. We don't want to build with wood, but the municipalities and the unknown politicians and that kind of people want to build it out of wood. So they think, as a male 50-year-old male engineers think this is a joke somehow. Okay. So they laugh about it. So it's a.
So there is some preconception, or is it just a way to protect the business?
I think it's both ways. And the concrete industry has really deep roots. For example, if we think about Finnish normal polytechnic engineer studies, normal 4-year engineer education in Finland in construction, they has 6 study points of wood, and all of the rest is basic studies and then concrete. So about, I don't know, maybe 90% of professional studies is about concrete, and maybe 10% is about
knowledge about concrete. But isn't it also because concrete is more versatile? I understand this, that you won't even find out application, and you cannot develop the material or the usage unless there is knowledge, unless people study it and try it. So there is a kind of a barrier, there is a slow moving train. But isn't it the concrete much more versatile than wood? Can we do everything that we do with concrete? A bridge. Can you do a bridge out of wood?
Yes, you can.
With the same kind of carrying load?
Yes, you can.
Okay, but yeah, I am myself shocked, because so you can do with this veneer sheets, you can do a bridge that stands like 70 lorry on it.
In fact, you can, but of course you should not use it everywhere. It's more wise to make it out of concrete, and still, of course, the foundation has to be made out of concrete.
Even in your wood house.
Of course, we use concrete.
Yes.
We just have to use it as little as possible, because it's a pollution.
Yeah. It's polluting, yes.
Yeah.
So you don't put rocks like in the old times. You don't put like stones underneath.
No, but that would be in fact quite a good idea.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. But no, we don't do that. So I think that of course we need all the materials, but we just have to use. We talk usually about material pyramids. A material pyramid is like a description that what is the impact of this material that what kind of environmental impact is this material having. So if you do an pyramid, in the top there is like steel, aluminium and that kind of things, and in the bottom there is those negative impacts of woods and so on. So then you have to like
try to go down.
You have to try to go down
from the pyramid. Yes. So I think you were talking about balance sheet. I think this sounds like lobbying.
That's true, of course.
Of course that's quite accusatory. It's quite a strong word. So we're not accusing any company producing and using concrete of lobbying the wood. But anyway, there is protectionism, of course. They want to survive and keep the company going. Is it for a private person that decides to want to build a house? And also now, as you said, the municipalities might be your client. So can their choice be fully and only decide upon the meaning and their respect for the nature and for the world, or are there costs, different costs? Is it a building in wood or purchase a house made of wood? Is it more expensive?
Yes, it is a bit. Yes.
Okay.
The material itself is more expensive than concrete.
Regardless, the supply chain, it's shorter, it's easier.
Yes.
Still, it's more expensive. Is it because of the material itself, or is it the know-how in the building that it's?
I think both. First of all, the material itself is
kilo against kilo. It's more expensive.
1/3 is cement.
Okay. That's quite a lot. Yes.
But the load-bearing frame of apartment building in the budget, the material is about 5%.
Okay.
So if you talk about the whole revenue of the building, the amount of that load-bearing wall and ceiling and so on, it's
so the skeleton of the house.
Yeah.
It is only 5% over the full budget of the house.
Yes, approximately.
Okay. And all the rest would come from
windows,
decoration, electricity,
piping, plumbing.
And you cannot escape those.
No.
So the contractor that does the electricity for your building would charge the same as doing it for concrete.
Yes.
So from their point of view, there is no difference.
No difference. No.
One
or plumber or whatever. No.
Okay. Yes. So there is no constraint.
In fact, even cheaper a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the faster building time. Because the wood building is done much more faster than concrete.
Okay.
But that's a kind of process issue. And now we should have those really huge construction companies to develop the processes. Because if we get this material to this 70s world record building process, that would be a combination that has a
huge impact.
Yeah. And that would be cost efficient, of course, and that would bring the wood down. But at the moment, sadly, there is actual interest in those big construction companies. They talk, of course, in public. They talk about ESG and they talk about responsibility and that kind of things. But actual actions,
it's more publicity.
Yeah.
PR.
Yes.
Yeah. But what is the role of politicians, and how can it be then steered? You know that if there are subsidies towards a certain material, I don't know. Now we talk about cars and changing from combustion, and so the intervention of the state into a change with economical incentive can help. So are we now in this lobby situation in which politicians don't want to kill one segment, and they don't want to put the money where your mouth is? So
now, first of all, I think that politicians can't make the decision. They can't go against procurement laws, for example. That's huge.
Free market.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So kind of free market. But I believe that the meaningness of the work comes from that we can negotiate with politicians, we can negotiate with contractors, we can negotiate with the people who buys the apartment. But what we can't negotiate is with environment. So nature does not negotiate, so to speak.
Yeah.
So no matter what is our opinion, the impact is
there.
Its impact is there.
Yeah.
So it is I believe so that, for example, I was in Nature Research Center Haltia in end of November, I believe, and there was all the prime ministers from it was Swedish Prime Minister and from Estonia and Finland. There was also Minister of Environment from Finland, and this a huge amount of politicians, and even Ursula von der Leyen from this European Commission chairman. She was there also, and they all was, and there was invitations was sent for about 300 professionals in Finland from wood construction. And the politicians were talking there, and also Ursula. And for example, what Ursula said is that she said that we can't only ban usage of concrete. We have to do also impacts that comes that kind of decisions that will increase the amount of usage of wood, because now the situation is this that the climate change is evolving, so that now we are already talking that we should have 1.5 degree this target, and for example, at the speed at the moment is so that what we can do is 2.1 degrees. We can't anymore go to that 1.5.
Yes.
So if we go business as usual at the moment, and we take this for year 2100 for 80 years from now. It means that if we don't change anything, it will be the climate change will be about this temperature will be about 4.5 degrees, and that would mean a whole change of ecosystem. That would mean that there would not be people anymore in year 2100. If we don't act, that is the situation.
Yeah, there is no way to tell it in a better way.
We are going to die, all of us. There will be no room for people in the world. Because it changes everything. It changes the whole ecosystem. So that's not only the temperature. Of course, I would like to have now it's minus 15 in outside. I would like to have minus 10, but that's not what we can choose. So the thing is that.
But when these talk are shocking, and they are important to create knowledge and to spread the concept in a really strong way. We have other people, some iconic, Greta and other people. Now we've seen maybe some agrees, some disagrees on the way some groups have been, for example, staining some paints or doing some action in galleries. So it's really good for sure to bring the topic strongly forward. But then what was Ursula like? What is how do we change a vision to a roadmap?
The roadmap was quite clear. There was this Hans Gruber also from Potsdam or Berlin University, this climate research, who had a presentation in that seminar also. He was talking about that we should see that the cities of Europe is seen as carbon storage. So the idea is that because people are anyways moving into the cities.
Yes, megatrend.
Of course, that's for sure, and it's not going to stop for some time. And of course, we are going to build new houses because of the lifespan of the houses, first of all,
and people also live
growth also. There is a lot of people, and there is
immigration,
globalization, and that kind of issues. So it means that if we see those as a carbon storages, it means that the bad guy of the climate is now the construction industry. It produces 40% of the pollution in the world.
I thought it was more transportation and logistic.
But
that's the second or first.
I don't know who is but top 3 anyways is the construction.
Yeah.
And in construction it's about, so it's 40% of the amount of world pollution comes from construction and the buildings. It means about half of them comes from the building time and half of it comes from the living time. So the energy is about half of it. But I can't solve the energy. And there is a lot of innovation going on. So there is like 2 winning battles, must-win battles in that one. Other one is that what we build from, another one is how do we warm it up or how do we cool it down, depending where we live.
Sure.
So it's an energy issue, but there is already nuclear power plants and there is a lot of those things and innovations or techniques that we can already use. And if we, for example, make an interview to all the energy companies in Finland that what is your carbon neutrality target in 2030 or 35, they all say it's neutral or negative.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's going on already.
Yes, and because we know about the geopolitical situation with Russia.
Yeah.
So Europe had to push to renovate energy.
Yeah.
But that's partly like this roadmap that we are talking about. Do we have to face a destruction, and do we have to face the end of the day, the Armageddon day before we react, because we had to face this problem with Russia and the war before all the Europe started to be united into moving towards more ecological way of producing energy. Yeah, so it's I wonder like what do we need? Because I mean, do we need houses to collapse? How do we wake up people about this? I think it's fascinating what you say about the fact that the cities should be a sponge for the CO2. And I now I understand better the fact that you say that once the wooden building is there, it acts as a sponge.
Yeah. So now our business, in fact, is climate change.
You're not wood.
No.
Worker,
No,
building.
we are the sponge.
Yeah.
For example, we made an offer for this huge Danish company that is going to build a huge logistics center in Finland. And they want to have their own balance sheet carbon neutral. So what we did was that we planned and designed a logistics center for them with huge thick wooden walls, solar panels and everything else. So we have carbon negative house for the whole lifespan.
Yes.
And now what happened is that they were calculating and buying a carbon storage for their balance sheet. As a side effect, they storage their goods there.
Yes.
And they even asked us a new tender or new offer for even thicker wooden walls so that the amount of carbon storage is more for them. So it means that it suddenly happens that it's the housing maybe comes as a side effect, or the usage of that building comes as a side effect.
Yes.
The decision making comes from other way.
Yes.
So that's really interesting because
It's anyway value driven.
Yeah.
The value of wanting to have zero impact or actually having a positive effect.
Yeah.
This we were saying about this fact that once it's the energy used to produce the building that has an impact, but then it's the lifespan of the house.
Yeah.
Are the lifespan of wooden houses and concrete houses the same?
Now, first of all our wooden houses, the structural time is 100 years, and usually concrete is 50 years.
Okay, this is structural. This sounds like a technical term. Can you tell what does it mean?
No, it's a technical term. That's true. First of all, the problem is this that the concrete has steel inside, and if the steel rusts, the concrete does not have any values anymore. It's not
because
strong
the steel
enough.
bonds the stuff.
So, for example, if you try to squeeze concrete, you can't squeeze it. But if you try to pull it without a steel, it snaps.
Yes.
But if you try to pull a wood, it's 30 times stronger than concrete. So it means that it's kind of ready-made steel concrete combination, the wood.
Yes.
If you design a structural planning, but
this is done because of the fibers of the material. It's property.
No, it's because of the rust.
No, but the wood can twist and bend.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
What bends doesn't crack.
Yeah.
So, but the concrete has this issue that, of course, it's really strong if it's designed correctly, and there is a lot of steel used inside, and the combination is the thing. But when it gets old, it absorbs also carbon from the
environment,
from the air.
Yes.
But what happens as a side effect is that the steel inside of that concrete element comes rusty.
So it gets moisture also inside.
Yes. So that means that the decarbonization of what they talk in construction, in concrete construction business, they talk about decarbonization. But decarbonization actually means that it's not usable anymore.
Hmm.
So and the thing is that if we want to design a building made out of steel that has 100 or more lifespan, design lifespan, it means that we have to use RST, what is rust dry? Stainless steel. Stainless steel materials and so on, and it comes more cost.
Yes, really expensive. Yes.
Yeah,
and it's energy intensive
even
to
more.
produce. Yes.
Even more.
Yeah.
So it
doesn't solve the problem.
Doesn't solve the problem
that we are trying to face. But so is it that the wood, once it's there, you have your panel of wood? Does that panel, does it have a specific ability to store CO2, like a limit? Let's say like 1 square meter of wood can suck up to
one cubic meter of wood is about 1 ton of CO2.
And that's
equivalent.
it. I mean, in its lifespan. In the lifespan.
Until it's rotten.
Yes.
Or burned.
Okay.
So, but the thing is that of course some amount goes from that to logistics and cutting, saw timber industry, and nesting the waste when we are doing CNC machining or whatever. So that means that approximately 760 kilograms of CO2 equivalent is stored in 1 cubic meter of CLT installed.
Yes.
And that has all the impact. That has also the impact of...
Yeah, it's already in the calculation.
Yes, it's logistics and everything is in there.
Yeah.
So, and vice versa, if we do same with concrete, that's about 600 kilograms minus or 700, approximately the double in other side.
That's the double effect
Yeah.
we're talking. But so so it seems that it is, if someone wants to make a good decision for the environment and the future, there is no other option.
That's true.
So again, is it? So we go back to the fact: is it so that we need from politicians not to block the free market, but do we need incentives towards this? Because
well, I believe that in Finland, for example, and in Nordic country, in fact, whole world has this tool called taxation. We have taxation.
In Finland, we love tax.
We don't. We just have them.
Yes.
So it means that in the taxation is that you should put the tax where it belongs. You should put the tax to maybe sugar if you have a diabetes, or you should put the tax. Or the thing is that
yes, on cigarettes there is a rising. All
gasoline there is,
yes.
Maybe diesel, petrol. So it's so it means that I believe that taxation should be put where it belongs, what pollutes, and that goes to everything. Because again, we come to this conclusion, and I believe that nature does not negotiate.
Yes.
2100, we are already dead. If we don't do anything,
Yes.
What is the alternative? Because the taxation beautifully works so that it guides the people and the consumer behavior.
Yes, I disagree. Tax, it is a punishment. Incentive, it is a promoting leverage. So to balance the price difference between electrical car and
yes,
combustion
that's the
car.
best way for.
Exactly.
That's the best way to politicians to guide.
Exactly. Yes.
What the government or what the people are doing.
Yeah.
We put the tax where it belongs.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Or incentive. That sounds more like proactive.
Yeah.
So you are a builder, wood builder, but actually you are on the mission to save the planet.
Yeah.
So, but do you do yourself some activities to compensate? Okay, you have the right material, and you have the knowledge, and it's something that I want still to go a bit deeper. But do you plant backwoods What is like?
Yes, yeah, that's.
I mean, you have the right tools. You're using the right tools. You're making the business, but
first of all, we use only with certified woods, PFC and FSC, which means that every cutted tree they will grow 4 instead.
Okay, yes.
And that's of course the key and the cornerstone. And of course, what we do, that we value the wood what we are using, so that every building what we do, we optimize the structurals, these structural types.
Okay.
And that's really, this is where the knowledge comes and the know-how comes. How to optimize so that the amount of because there is a lot of issues why wood construction is a bit costly than other types. And the thing is that there is a lot of legislation that affects wood construction that comes from concrete construction or concrete based or measured materials. For example, the intermediate floor or the ceiling, whatever you call it, in Finland, if we make this out of wood, the problem for us is a vibration of the floor.
Okay.
Because of the
material, it's flexible.
It's flexible, it's strong, it does not crack. That's not an issue, not even close. But we have to optimize it according to vibration. It means, for example, this floor where we are now sitting and this intermediate floor, if we do this out of wood, solid wood, and compare to that what would be fire resistant amount or otherwise usable, we should use more than double the amount of wood in this floor, so if we try to control the vibration. So that's why we have to use, for example, secondary beams or certain not necessarily primary load-bearing materials, but other materials to control the vibration. We have to do.
And the standards are dictated, are given by
concrete from
industry.
80s and beginning of 90s.
Yes. So the regulations are they came from the
because
industry.
someone in 92 measured vibration of a concrete floor. And that's a subjective measure, in fact, and that's actually true. A guy was walking in that with a backpack of 10 kilos, and they calculated how much this vibrates, and from there we have to use all the same vibration values compared to wood.
so it's quite an empiric way to test.
Yes, but that's true.
Yeah.
And so so the thing is that now we talk that in the Ministry of Environment is improving wooden construction. Of course, now when we start to do those bigger apartments, 2016 or 15 or what's the first bigger wooden apartments out of CLT. That's the first time we could do according to law in Finland. Okay. So it's really young.
Yes.
That's one thing to discuss, quite noticeable.
Yeah.
So it's really young business, in fact. So and what we are doing is that so if we compare the thickness of these, there is not, for example, fire resistant and all of these load bearing values, they are less than half what we have to use. So when it comes to this responsible usage of wood, what we are talking, one is that of course our source is certified.
Yes. That's
one, like a cornerstone, like I told. But then another issue is that we really have to optimize. We have to consider even using a bit of concrete in top of the floor.
Yeah.
So to make the combination that we have a joint structure.
Yes.
Just to control the vibration. Nothing to do with load bearing or whatever, just the vibration. Yeah. So it's a matter of comfort.
Yes. Yeah, and I understand this sounds to me anyway also a wise decision for any business owner, because anyway you try to.
That's IPR of us.
Yes, but of course if you have a mission, you are not going to compromise and start making floors out of concrete just to save
Yeah.
So
We can't.
yeah. But so when you're talking about the fire resistance, is it building a house out of wood? Is it complying with all the fire regulations?
Yeah, it's the same fire regulation, concrete and wood.
It doesn't matter that one
No.
will catch up fire.
But the law says that we have to use in apartment building. We have to use sprinkler system because it's made out of wood.
Okay.
And that what causes is that it's even safer.
Yes.
Than concrete.
But it's a bit more costly.
No, it's not much.
Yeah.
It's really not much. I would say about maybe 50 euros a square meter or 30 euros a square meter.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's
minimal.
We talk and we frighten with those but
of course it changes a bit the outlook because anyway you will have sprinklers. So
no, there is more sprinkler systems, but I believe that, for example, if you think like fire safety perspective, in Finland no one has ever died in fire which has been sprinklered. The apartment.
Okay, and this is a fact.
That's a fact.
Okay.
So if we talk about sprinkler system and the fire department, I think that they would say that let's put the sprinkler system everywhere.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's the safest solution.
Yeah.
It's
and also that has to be and the problem is that if fire happens in apartment building, 95% of the death happened in those fires are because carpets, sofas, and that kind of things is burning and the toxic gas comes up. So
it's not the building itself.
No.
Yeah.
But what we can do is that if we have sprinkler system, that will bring the heat down so the fire doesn't spread and so on. So that will anyways help.
Yeah, and then the alarms and everything that for the gases.
Yeah.
But does building it with wood, does it require special knowledge also from the architectural and from the design side?
Yes, because of course.
Yes.
But that's another issue that's one of those things that why we should have those huge construction companies with this. Is that first of all we have to understand that there is maybe 30 or 40 CLT factories in Europe.
Plenty.
Yeah. CLT factories.
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Most of them are small, but there's also huge Stora Enso, for example, with huge capacities and so on. And Binderholz and Koaho and so on. But those materials and that all of those factories have a bit different cutting system, a bit different panel size, a bit different gluing capacity, a bit different to that and that.
Okay.
So that
standard is missing.
There is no standard.
But I guess it is regulated by EU.
Of course, and it's ETA approved panels and so on. That's not the issue. But the size, the cuttings, the joints are because what kind of CNC machine you have. So that comes to this conclusion. If you make the decision that you build apartment building out of CLT, before you draw it, in my opinion, you should make the decision where you buy it from.
Okay, you should know where you source your material from.
So there where comes the structural designer and the architect comes in the key role. They have to know what is capable of this factory and that factory, what is the panel length and size and dimensions, how should we use this one, what is the length of the room, what is the
But are there limitations because out of concrete you can make a ball or you can make whatever?
So is the
shape.
wood.
So with wood.
In fact, it's even cheaper in the wood.
Okay. Yeah. But so and you were talking about the fact that the engineering and the university, at least in Finland, it's still as it was
Concrete based.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it so the architecture side of this or complex, or also the architecture, the university studies?
They have more willingness.
Yes.
To change to wood because maybe I don't know is it the artistic side of the education, but anyways it's much more responsible and of course they like usually
the appearance of wood. They like that we can do.
It's aesthetic. It has some
Yes,
kind of, yes, absolutely.
And with wood, it's much more easier to do really complex buildings. It's much more easier to do
it's
round windows.
I thought
It's
the
the same.
opposite.
It's but no. It's much more cheaper. You can have ellipse side of looking like a window, for example, and that's the amount of the hole is the same that it's square.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of like no change.
Because of the CNC machine does not know the price is the same if it cuts diagonal or straight lines.
Yeah.
But if you do that in element factory, that's really costly.
Yeah.
Because everything is done by hand. Those.
Yes, those changes. So anyway, the house it's done. It's kind of pre-done, or parts are pre-done.
Yeah.
And then it's assembled on place on the.
It depends on the situation. We are doing both. Now we also assemble these prefabricated models in our factory, which means that there is like an apartment building that comes up in a week.
Okay. So it's a Lego construction.
Yes. So it comes in a week. All what we do in the location is the roof and facade in this.
Still, your workers on the site, they are wood masters.
Yeah, and also in the factory.
In the factory.
Yeah.
So they anyway do custom solution, or they do address, because also this is something that the amount of workers needed for big projects, it's quite big. It's the volume. So the know-how and the core knowledge of the material, it's probably difficult to find in such a wide amount.
Yeah.
So if you would have we think about these big companies, it's also probably difficult for them to commit to a project where you would need continuous amount of workers. They do not know actually some technicalities about wood. So it is a bit like a circle. Like, where do you start? They might want, but they don't have people that can be experienced.
Yeah.
Now when you think about concrete industry anyway, also they outsource workers from all over the world, from different countries, from where the labor is cheaper. Of course, there are always sometimes comes some news about how people are not well treated and we don't want to go there. But the point is that not only to make cost efficient, but also because there is a boom of construction, so it's needed to get people from abroad to work. Meaning from Estonia, of course, it's been for a long time, but for many other countries nowadays. But you cannot probably do the same. You cannot just randomly ask for someone.
No.
Because
that's why all the installers from our side is our own workers.
Yes.
Which is again totally different than any other.
Yes.
Because they have in their own staff is full of engineers. And all the assembles and it's already some kind of subcontractors or whatever, rental workers or whatever that they use. But ours we can't, because the time is our best competitive advantages in the construction site.
Yes.
So the time of the installation is really significant.
Much shorter.
Yeah. That's the thing that we have to concentrate, and that's why we can't use subcontractors on that one. So it's one of those cores. So if we think our business, I would say the cores, in fact, they are the leading of the design, not designing itself, but leading of it. We have to know that what mistakes we have done in the last projects. When we have to it's kind of an ongoing lean process.
Yes.
So another issue is that we have to have that construction time has to be in the minimum. And then
efficiency.
And there comes the own workers. And then of course we have to have this IPR. We have to have the optimization of different structural types. We have to make the decision, for example, that if we are doing apartment building and we say that this intermediate floor needs 220 millimeters of CLT, but we have to make one pillar in the kitchen island in the middle of it, then we can use 140 of CLT. That means like 8 centimeters away from the whole ceiling.
Yes. That's definitely also the same work that concrete companies do.
Of course.
They calculate the strength and then the thickness of the concrete, how much.
But
of course,
all the buildings has to be optimized.
Yeah. But so do you think it's still possible to scale in such and ramp it up such as it should be done if we want to cut this 53%?
Yes, it's possible, but it needs prefabrication.
And teach people and teach worker specific skills. It's quite big steer. It's not so easy to steer.
That's true. But the actual work itself is really simple. Even kids can do it. We use screws and glue, and we put these two pieces together. It's like Lego pieces.
Okay.
It's really simple.
Yeah. It sounds.
It's actually it's surprisingly simple. We have 3D application in our mobile phones for all the installation guys. They pick up.
Okay. Are those done by you or done by the?
We and Stora Enso did the program together.
Okay.
We have an installation program which we use every day.
Is it based on augmented reality? So you see, or is it just based on instructions?
It's instructions and it's a 3D model.
Yes. Okay.
It's all the elements are showed there and all the lorries and so on. So it's.
But it's not so that you can point the joint you are doing and then it will visualize over the joint. It's not that augmented reality.
But you can see the joint in the picture, how it's done, and then you have detail how many screws and what is the dimension of the screw, and then you just build it. It's surprisingly easy.
Yeah. You are reinventing slightly the business.
So in fact, what we are doing is 1,000-year-old style of construction.
Yeah, it's one of the first. Yes, or the first.
So we are just going back in time.
Yeah.
We have new innovations, these new materials. I mean, these new glued materials.
Yes.
Those are new ones, but the style is same as thousands of years ago.
And the solid wood that is like the most ancient material. Well, the stones probably it was before that.
Of course.
But or a mix of the two, so do you use massive wood as like a log anywhere?
No, we have done these log homes some years ago, and we have also renovated old churches and that kind of things. We changed those logs.
Yeah, more project based.
Yeah, and that's like when we did the renovation like 15 years ago. So, and the changing of the logs is a service or like a service program for the house, because of the houses was designed usually so that we changed the lower logs in every 30 or 50 years.
Yes, it was
planned. That was planned in advance, so we have done that.
What kind of advantages are for the people living in a wood house?
Acoustic.
Frequently you see, and this is something that frequently you see maybe some interviews or some articles about people that talk about living in a wood house, and they always anyway talk quite happily about the house. And I always wonder, is it because they've made the choice of being in a wooden house, therefore they want to speak about it nicely? Or what are the concrete advantages of someone living in a wood house? It said about aesthetic, air, circulation. What are the fact of a wooden house? The benefits that you can say as a fact, not as an owner that has spent his money there, so he wants to talk nicely about the house.
Yeah.
What are the facts?
There is a huge amount of studies made out of it. And one of those key findings in the last years is that, for example, it lowers your blood pressure.
I should move there.
Yeah, and in, for example, those schools that are made out of wood, the learning curve is much more better in those students when they
Okay.
That's another issue.
And
That's a study.
How is that connected? And how this? What is the actually connection?
First of all, I believe that there is a lot of things, I think, and one I would like to point out is also acoustic, because it doesn't echo.
Yeah.
Like for example, this concrete place what we are now, it echoes a bit.
Yeah.
But if it's made out of wood, the surface is not, it's not solid kind of. It has small.
Yeah, it absorbs all that. Yeah.
And it echoes differently. So that's one of those things. But the health related matters is, for example, blood pressure and stress levels, cortisol levels are going down. And it's same when you walk in the woods for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and what happens, I believe, is that in the wood, you can smell the wood.
Yes.
Wood has natural gases that are coming out of it. And I believe that this has some kind of a calming effect. And also the bacteria doesn't live in the wood. For example, if you have a plastic plate, bacteria, for example, salmonella. If you cut in your plastic cutting board, you cut, for example, your chicken. Yeah. If I recall right, it was 2 weeks that it can live the salmonella bacteria in that
surface.
In the surface of plastic.
Yes.
But if you cut it in the wood made out of pine, for example, it stays for 2 hours.
And it dies.
Yeah. Same also it happens MRSA bacteria in the hospital bacteria. Yeah. That's the same effect on that one.
Okay.
So there is something you have to have some kind of research about that. But there is a huge amount of studies you can find. Yeah. So there is
a health benefit, even if like the jump between having wooden walls and having lower blood pressure seems not so correlated. That these are the studies that show this. But what about the air and the circulation of the air, because the house breathes.
House breathe, and it sucks up the moisture of the. For example, you in your everyday you make about 12 liters of water in a day, or 10 liters or whatever the amount is that you produce in a house per one day. So it means that, for example, if this house this room would made out of wood, it absorbs the moisture from the air for about 2 million meters inside of the wood. The first cells of the wood sucks and absorbs this moisture, and then when it's needed, other way around, it comes back.
Releases it.
Yeah.
When is it needed back? So it's because of the outside temperature.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
But it sounds like a potential problem that moisture is sucked inside the walls. It sounds to me like, okay, then you will have mold and you will have fungi and rotten. No, is it so?
No.
Regardless, we're talking about Finland, but if you think about, like, I don't know, you want to build it in Malta, where your moisture, it's like all the year round is some 70-80%.
No, there is already done CLT apartments in Chile.
Okay.
There is no issue. I don't know about that.
Okay. Yes.
But of course it differs which material, which wood do you use in CLT. For example, we use pine and spruce, mainly spruce. And the thing is that you can't have, for example, I know that there is also made of CLT panels out of birch. So and in the birch itself there is xylitol inside, which is a sugar.
Yes.
And that sugar is a bacteria growing energy. Yes. Energy for bacteria. So it means that that you should also consider what type of wood do you use in that,
and in what environment.
And so but the basic fundament is that if the wood gets wet, it's no issue if it allows to be dried also.
and still in high moisture environment they can get, because the sun might shine over them and dry it.
And air dries it. But of course you can't, well we in Finland we make saunas out of wood and there's no mold.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
it's quite moist.
It's true.
But
the air ventilation
yes,
is well designed. So also in the house.
That's true. But also there is log homes, log saunas. There is only a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Nothing else, and there is no mold. So of course ventilation is issue. We have to have the ventilation done, and that's for sure. It doesn't matter what material the walls are. We still have to have the ventilation.
Yeah.
And also the same mold grows in concrete after a certain amount of years.
Yes.
So that doesn't differ for that. The problem is this, and the situation is that we have to have and make the structural planning so that it also dries if it gets wet. We don't do showers out of wood.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do
the bathroom you can do.
No, bathroom we can do, but not. Of course, we use some kind of tiles in the wall.
Yeah.
To protect the walls.
Yes.
But the roof, the ceiling can be.
Yeah, and the roof, of course, not.
Yeah.
But the main structure.
Yes, of
it
course.
Is then, of course, nowadays also in wood. Yeah. How is the business going when we think about the pandemic and now this situation with Russia and the war and the uncertainties about this coming year, energy crisis? So how all this has been affecting your business, thinking about growth, thinking about sourcing materials and personnel?
No, it has an impact in wide scale, first of all. It has an impact in sourcing. There was huge issues when the Ukrainian war started that, for example, certain plaster boards, gypsum, that was an issue. Or now it has still issue about certain material.
You said wood. A lot of wood comes from Russia. You said, or was it coming from Russia?
No, there is in Europe-wise the export of wood from Russia was about 11 million cubic meters of wood per year. So, and in Finland we cut 75 million cubics only in Finland.
Yes.
So that's not in fact an issue.
Okay.
But the factories, the steel, those kind of things, or some certain type of material, for example, the carton is in gypsum, and the plasterboard, I mean, the carton factories are in Ukraine mostly.
Okay.
So they were demolished, for example.
Yes.
And or some kind of raw materials that we use in microwaves. So that's why we are not getting microwaves.
Okay.
For example, I don't know what are those,
Right.
but the wide scale is huge.
Yes.
And of course, the mostly what we can handle is that some steel or whatever is certain percent more expensive.
Yes.
That's of course bad for us. It
But,
goes
yeah.
away from our profit.
Yes. Everyone producing.
But the problem,
Yes.
the actual problem is uncertainty.
In what way?
It means, for example, when we produce our own apartment buildings, the people won't buy it at the moment, inflation and that kind of things. So that's the.
So or there's the pipeline. It's slowly filling.
Well, yes, we have a good pipeline for our own, but according to apartment buildings, because the business in the future is in the apartment buildings, because in the apartment buildings we have to have this must-win battle. Because if we win the cost-efficient issues in the apartment buildings, that would be that thing that saves the world and has a huge impact on our business. But that has to have solid and stable markets.
Yes.
Of course. So.
Yes, and if the market also and the other big giants in the construction would turn to the wood industry, it would make everything from sourcing to processes and techniques to grow, and then lower the price to the customer and spread the construction of. And do you check all your suppliers for if you have this strong mission? Do you check that your suppliers, the wood is certified, but do you check that your suppliers, that they cut wood and they have the machine, do you check that they are aligned with the same?
Yes. Our company is 100% ESG proof.
Yes.
So it means that we have the social and governance issues also, and the sourcing is really done. So
because
we can't just pick the cherries. We have to do everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you are aware about of course it's quite, everyone is now looking at batteries, and everyone is looking to make the change from combustion to batteries, but there are still many concerns about the batteries, both about the sourcing of the batteries and then how do you get rid of the batteries and the life cycle of the batteries, what is the full impact. And there is still a lot of discussion about what is actually comparing to what calculation you do and the time frame and how you consider things. You can get even calculation that the combustion engine is actually more environmentally friendly. I was just I have a hybrid car, so with batteries, and you think I'm doing the right thing. I'm making the change, I'm part of this change towards a sustainable future, and you want to be part of it. And I was listening about a program about slavery in Africa, in Congo, and how the 3/4 of the cobalt, this material that it's in lithium battery, it's sourced from Congo, from slavery. And kids are there working and dying, and there are no conditions. So you wonder am I pushing actually a dramatic change, or am I pushing a real change? And of course also these companies, they have if you think about Apple, they all say that it's all the cobalt inside the lithium batteries are slavery free and they are sourced in a human manner, but they are not. And there are a lot of documentation about this. So I was wondering how deep you go into this chain to really be sure that what you are doing has the impact that you wish, and that is not like a boomerang. It's coming back at you from somewhere.
No, first of all, I believe that all the companies has IKEA issues.
IKEA issues.
Oh,
so
all the companies in the world has these issues. And I believe that there is no 100% see-through in any company in the world, in any.
So there is some shady thing happening everywhere.
Yeah, I believe that.
The bigger, the most.
But of course, what we can do is that, and our responsibility also is to do that we have to, for example, if we think our woods, or if we think our wall, I can take our 3D model and I can check the QR code of that panel, and with that I can go where it has been cutted and when the wood, for example, and who has done this. Okay. So though this kind of chain for this our material is really solid.
Yeah, it's open.
But of course, but if we think that we buy a window and then there is an aluminium and it says the recycle percent is 39, I can't say if it's 38 or 37 in certain part of the window.
Yeah, or how that aluminium was produced.
Or no, of course we have a guarantee from someone, but does he has or she has a guarantee from someone who has a guarantee from someone? So the chain is so long that I believe that everyone has IKEA issues.
So IKEA issue meaning that you don't know where your parts are coming from.
Of course,
you have to trust until a certain point.
Yeah, and I think that's a common problem with globalization. So it comes in it doesn't affect us. I think it in fact affects us much more less than other construction companies who has.
Yeah, because you could potentially you could potentially source all of your material from Finland aside from some metals.
Load-bearing materials, yes. But there is glue, what we use, some insulation comes from somewhere. Occasionally we have to use polystyrene or this certain type of plastics, and those plastics are shipped from Panama to Finland.
Yes.
There is no.
You don't have full control.
That's not
knowledge.
never going to be sustainable.
Yes.
To ship the oil from Panama, for example, or whatever. So
You're
of course,
still deciding always to find the most sustainable solution.
we are trying.
You are not trying to find the full.
No,
perfection.
we are. I believe that and I promise we are not the cheapest.
Yeah.
That I can promise.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's value-based sourcing, and that's also difficult. That's actually really difficult.
How?
Because of the guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a monkey. So it's
the monkey.
Yeah. Somewhere there is still a monkey somewhere.
Yes.
So it's and that's a global issue. That's a globalization problem.
Who can help the wood industry? I mean, the wood building industry to grow, to get more attention. If politicians are not committed to,
the politicians are trying, but politicians, God is my witness, but I have been now in these past years. I have been in situations with the politicians that I have been in seminars where they are talking, and one of those things. I was in Nordea Summit a few weeks ago, and there was our Minister of the Environment was talking there, and she was also talking in that Nature Research Center in Haltia in late November, and what I was only thinking myself is that why are you talking when you should listen? Why are you talking when you should listen? You should listen to these 300 wood-based entrepreneurs in Finland. What they can
get their knowledge.
And their knowledge. So stop talking and listen. That was the first idea that politicians should do.
Yes.
They should shut up and listen.
Because
there is no need for new innovations.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. They are talking about new innovations and greener. Now greener steel is coming to Ingo.
But that's a motto. That's something to get the votes. Right? So how do we make them listen?
By growing huge.
So that
if I can't change, I can be an example.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea. That's what Napoleon syndrome. Be huge.
Yeah. So then you are unnoticeable. I mean, you cannot be unnoticed. Then you have to be noticed.
Yes.
Then they have to raise the problem, raise the topic, and say like this is actually something doable. Are like some there are funds, there are like Business Finland and other companies or institutions that help to grow.
Yes.
Do you have have you got some help from these kind of organizations?
We did one project with Business Finland, and it was really small in our perspective, and most of the headache comes from the reports. So we decided we don't get any more because there is no time to write the reports.
Okay, but yes, but you understand that of course I've done a couple of small projects that in which Business Finland was involved. So Business Finland has a budget given anyway by the government, and they have to dispose in the most wise way they can see fit. And of course there are rules, and we know that Finland is the country of the rules and procedures. but also you don't want that it happens like I can tell it happened in Italy, that a lot of money went to constructions where constructions were halfly done and never finished because reporting was not followed up and because there is of course a degree of corruption. So I guess that it's good that there is
and
control.
was it in North or South Italy?
We have to be political correct, so it's
Yes.
widespread.
Yeah.
So I guess you understand also, because if Business Finland gives an opportunity to you, it's taking it away from someone else.
That's true.
So it is always anyway. There is a choice there, and
Yes,
you are
yes,
like responsible for your project, but then you have some kind of a responsibility towards all the other that haven't
Yes.
got that.
Yeah.
So but was the project anyhow helping? Do you see that there could be a way to leverage such companies and organizations to?
This certain was not really, but what we have thought, that maybe we could start a project for export, because that one has we have a huge possibility for that, because we have the knowledge, we have the factory, and we have the demand at the moment also from Europe. We have really good sourcing in Finland and in Northern Europe. So there is few of those things that we could do, and
You need workers still.
we need workers then. And we need someone who is filling the reports.
Some bureaucracy work.
Yeah. So, but there is an export possibility in Finland, and that's an actual thing. And I believe, because we are the Finland's biggest wood construction company. In this sense, I believe that we also we could have an impact on that one.
Yeah, start steering a bit and pushing to get things moving. Yeah. So you are planning to save the world?
Yes.
If doing it by building wooden houses.
Yes.
And you believe that we can achieve what Finland has been pushing as a carbon-free country, partially, or like at least almost half, with addressing the building industry.
That's a possibility, yeah.
And you are working on it. That's your mission.
That's our mission.
Thank you, Mikko. We hope that you will do it, because you are not saving only yourself, you are not growing, but also our kids and our kids' will get the benefit out of these missions and the meaning of your work.
Thank you, and this is what we are trying to do
Yeah.
as much as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.